Good evening, Viking Nation, and welcome to Around the Nation. I'm your host, Larry Godwin. We've got a great show planned for you tonight. While other media outlets take time off during the summer because it's really slow, there's slow content, things like that. We don't, not us. We at the Viking Nation are dedicated to bringing you the absolute best content when it comes to Lowndes athletics. Just case in point, last week we talked about the Cork Kell Classic ticket situation. And there was a big demand for instructions on how to do, how to order those Corky Kell tickets. Listen, I have to admit, that is probably one of the worst ticket online ordering systems ever created by mankind. It really is. It's very, very difficult. That's why they came up with a set of instructions. So when you click on the ticket link, there's a set of instructions there. They've heard from you. So we created a video from last week's show, and we posted it on the Viking Nation Facebook page earlier this week, giving you basically a 5-6 minute video clip and a walkthrough on how to order those tickets. That's the kind of stuff that we do here, and we do it all for you because we're fans just like you. We're a show created by fans for our fans. Speaking of tonight's show, it's sponsored by Winn-Dixie of Valdosta, who also sponsors our weekly drawing for that delicious Stuff the Bucket weekly drawing for a whole bucket full of chicken wings and riblets. So guys, you guys know the drill. If you want to go ahead and enter for your chance to win, I put those instructions on the screen right here. Go ahead, Coach Robinson, you're in the background there. If Billy, Chris, if you guys want to go ahead and enter for your chance to win, you guys are eligible as well. Go ahead and type into the comments right now, #OneLounge, just like you see it right there on the screen. No spaces, no nothing, that kind of stuff. Just #OneLounge into the comments to enter the Winn-Dixie drawing at the end of the show. So hopefully you can feed your family one night later this week. So our other sponsors include A Shade of Perfection, as well as G Nation Media. If you're looking for custom blinds or shades for your home or business, give Tim Neesmith a call. Speaking of Stickman, I think we lost Billy. Listen, if you're watching the show, we lost your connection, buddy. So you need to sign back in. Now, speaking of our super fans, talking about Billy Pearson, let me go ahead and bring him onto the screen. Billy, you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
I got you.
How are
Our
you
other
doing today?
super fan joining the panel tonight is Chris Buescher. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Well, good, man. I've got some questions specifically for you a little bit later on tonight when it comes to the band. I got a couple of questions people were asking me about some band stuff referring to band camp that's later on. Hey, before we bring our guest onto the show, guys, Coach Joseph Robinson, I want to talk to you two specifically about a sensitive matter. Okay. So I'm kind of springing this on you. It's kind of a surprise. I think we need to have an intervention for Tim Neesmith, a Viking intervention. Just by the look on your face and your reaction, you're probably wondering, what in the world is LG talking about? You have no clue, right?
Don't have a clue. What is wrong?
I haven't seen him on the Lowndes 411 page, so I'm not sure.
What?
Have you read some of those comments, Chris? Oh my
gosh.
word.
Oh,
that is the funniest. I get on there just for the comments, okay?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, guys. Well, here's what I'm talking about. I'm going to share something on the screen. I saw something on Facebook earlier this week. Very, very disturbing. So, Coach Robinson, you're in the background. You're in the backstage area watching us cut a fool on the stage on the screen right now. I apologize up front. Stickman is one of our nearest and dearest friends, but I feel like, guys, he needs an intervention because of what I'm about to show you. Check this out. All right. So, you guys think?
Larry, there's just some things you can't unsee. And at
I know.
our age now, we're on the verge of being hip or breaking hip, and Tim definitely qualifies for that category.
That's exactly right.
I don't see a problem in it.
You don't see-
Hey, at least he wasn't wearing a Speedo. If that would have been me, I'd have been wearing an American flag
Lord.
Speedo. That,
Chris,
Hard
now
jorts,
you
hard
cannot
jorts.
unsee that image that Billy just put into your head.
No.
hey, we can't be picking on Tim. He's like a sponsor to this show. So, you can't be picking on him too bad. Stickman,
I know he may
I've got your back.
unsponsor my show starting next week.
Stickman, I got your back, buddy. Don't let LG mess with you. I think you got some moves. I don't know what kind of moves, but you got some moves.
That's exactly right. Hey guys, listen, our popularity is growing. Here's a comment from I don't know if you guys know this guy, Joe Mamone. He says, "Greetings from New Jersey. Your friends from Prep Gridiron Logistics are tuning in." So we got people up north watching the show, man.
Nice.
Shanna Marie giving a warning to Tim's beautiful bride, Kathy Neesmith. She says, "You have to watch this. This is must-see TV. I'm telling you guys." All right, enough cutting the fool. Let's bring our guest onto the screen, okay? Coach Robinson, how are you?
Doing well. How about you guys?
I'm good, man. Listen, I'm sorry for what you just saw. This might be your last time on the show. You may not ever want to come back after tonight.
Nah, it was all good.
Well, I gotta recompose myself. Let me properly introduce you to our audience. Okay, guys, this is Coach Joseph Robinson. Some of you may recognize him as the girls' track coach, but he also serves another important role in Lowndes athletics as well. He's the head coach of the 9th grade football team. And that's a huge role because, as we know, Lowndes has some great feeder programs. Lowndes Middle and North Lowndes middle schools feeding into the high school. So as these middle school coaches are helping to nurture and develop this talent, before they hit that varsity field, coach, you get these guys, right?
Yes, sir.
And so you've been the head coach for the 9th grade team. I think this is going on your 3rd season as head coach, right? What do you enjoy most about this this role that you fit in now at Lowndes Football?
I love the fact that I get to meet the kids as soon as they come out of middle school and get all of them to get on, the one Lowndes bandwagon and see that there is no division like it was in middle school, and so we get to get the kids and make them all think of just being that one team, trying to play for that one common goal, and that's to win the state championship. And so we have to just work on getting the kids to buy into the program and showing them how it's going to be for the next 3 years when they play on the varsity level. And I really enjoy being tasked with that to get the kids ready for playing for one of the best high schools in the country. And so we tell the kids that every single day, and they believe it. And so I love being the guy in charge of making sure these kids buy into the program and play hard for this school for 4 years.
I got you. Okay. So you're an interesting coach. And I say that because you're able to relate to these guys as they come from middle school, because that's where you started as a middle school coach in the Lowndes program. I think you've been doing this since 2009, right?
Yes, sir.
And
I started at Pine Grove Middle School when it first opened. Coach Dias was the head coach out there, and he allowed me to volunteer. And so I coached out there for 2 years before moving up to the high school. And during that time, I had a chance to see the difficulty of coaching at the middle school level and only having a handful of coaches and having to coach both sides of the ball and just doing the best with what you had athletically. And so it makes it easier for me to relate to the kids and the coaches when they actually come up to the high school and having to work on that learning curve with the kids.
Gotcha. Well, apparently you got a fan out there. Shannon Tabor says Coach Robinson is a great coach.
Thank you.
Hey, listen,
Coach.
Yes, sir.
you come from the middle school, then you start ninth grade, you're coaching there. Everybody knows that Lowndes has a system. Back years ago, it was a wing tee. Now it's more kind of a spread offense. How do you incorporate that both at the middle school level, now at ninth grade? How do you work with the other coaches to kind of get the kids learning that system? Because every different coach has his own way of coaching, has his own game plan. But how do you work with Coach DeBose and the rest of the varsity on getting our kids taught the system that Lowndes runs, so that when they actually are a JV player or a varsity player, that they know what's going on, they know what to expect?
Great question.
Okay. Yes, I know Coach DuBose met with all the middle school coaches in the spring to make sure that they are running our offense and our defense, and also using the same vernacular that we're using at the high school, so the kids are hearing the exact same thing at every single grade and at every level. And the middle school coaches, they also come out like during the summer. Some of them come out and watch practices, and they ask questions. And we also send them all of our information. And honestly, Coach DeBose says this all the time. Ninth grade coaches, I mean, we just have the title of ninth grade coaches, but we're all varsity coaches. And so on Friday night, we all have a task that we have to do in order to make sure that we're all successful on Friday night. And we go to all the meetings with the varsity coaches. So as far as the knowledge, we all have the same amount of knowledge and the same expectations for the kids. And so I make sure, since I'm the defensive coordinator on ninth grade, that we run the exact same defense with the exact same verbiage, and we do everything the exact same way. So that way, the kids, they don't have to change the process of learning from one level to the next. And especially now with the middle school coaches being on board with it and learning everything. So now the kids, they can just fine tune their skills every single year. And so by the time they make it to varsity, it's much easier for those coaches, so they can work on the little things to make them much better.
Coach, when you were in the middle school program since 2009, all the way through the current day, you've seen a lot of really, really good talent go through the Lowndes system. You were telling me a little bit earlier. Just tell our audience some of the players that you remember going through the system during your tenure.
Man, of course, I've always coached track and football. And so I was telling them earlier, when I first started off with track, we had Kenny Durden out there, who was a really good football player. We had Josh Harvey Clemens on the track team. I had a chance to coach, who was really good at football. Of course, we had Kenny Moore, who did the hurdles and the triple jump for us, who played football. I didn't have a chance to coach those guys in the football field, but I had a chance to coach them. And then pretty much everybody that came after that, with the great groups that we had that came after that, I had a chance to coach all those guys, the Mike Bears, the Tavon Cowles, the J.D. Lees, the Travis Tisdales, the Thomas Davises, the Jaquez Hunters, the T.J. Quinns, all of those excellent football players that have just come through Lowndes High School. I really had a chance to coach those guys up, and especially in ninth grade when everybody's trying to make their mark on being at the high school, and so we had a chance to get those guys when they first came up, and they were just trying to get their name heard by everybody out in the community, and really enjoyed it. And that's the good thing about me being in the position that I am. I'm one of the few guys that gets to coach every single kid that comes through the program, because once you get to varsity, if you're an offensive line coach, you only really coach the offensive lineman. But being on ninth grade, you have a chance to coach every single kid that is on the team. And that's what I like about it. So if a kid is in the program for 4 years, I have a chance to say, well, hey, I coached that kid at some point in time, because I try to make sure that since ninth grade is much smaller and we don't have as much detail as varsity does, that I have a chance to get around and talk to all the kids and give them some little coaching pointers as well. And so I enjoyed that part of it, and I get to know all the kids personally, and I like it a lot.
Hey, Viking Nation, if you're just joining the show right now, we've got on the screen Coach Joseph Robinson. He's the head coach of the ninth grade football team. He's sharing with us his experiences coaching through in the system, and just giving us a preview of what we can expect coming from this ninth grade team. Coach, When I was talking to you before the show, I asked you to talk about some players, and I think you answered it perfectly. You said we have so many good players. I don't want to name names and leave someone out, right? But I want to bring up something that you said. I asked you about talent coming up through the system, and you gave me a couple of quotes that they were so noticeable that I had felt compelled to write them down. One of them was, there's so much talent, so many of them, to be honest. And then you said, one of the best teams I've seen, and we've seen some really good ones. So this upcoming ninth grade team, you said it could potentially be one of the best ones you've ever seen. What did you mean by that?
Just the depth and across the board at every position, having the talent of having someone that can play that one position without having to have kids to go on both sides of the ball, and just having everybody that play that a particular position. We've never had a team since I've been coaching ninth grade that was just had a true starter at every single position that you felt could go on the field and start, and the team would be fine. And we also have, in a lot of positions, backups, in my opinion, that are just as good as the starters. And so that's why I love practice. And I try to keep practice very competitive because the kids, they work really hard, and they love to compete. And so I always tell the kids, no one has a starting position. And I like that because we have between 61 and 65 kids that come to practice every day. We've
Wow.
never had that many kids in ninth grade that come to practice every single day. And they work hard in the weight room, and we coach these kids extremely hard. We're not easy on them, and we let them know that. So we came back off the 4th of July Monday. We were a little sluggish, and we had to reintroduce them to Lowndes High football, and the kids, they responded well, and they're very resilient. And so I really enjoy coaching these guys. And when I talk to my coaching staff, I'm like, man, like, we got this kid here, we have that kid there. I really like it, and so I really feel like with the depth that we have at the positions, that this has the potential, as long as everybody stays level-headed and we stay healthy, to be an awesome team.
That's awesome.
Well,
Coach, I got a few questions for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Refresh my memory, because fans want to know what's coming up with varsity. Tell me how last year's team did. What was the overall record last year?
For ninth grade or for varsity?
For ninth grade.
Okay. Last year for ninth grade, of course, we struggled a lot with COVID. Not to make any excuses. We finished our season, I want to say, at 3-2 or 2-3, one of them. We got shut down 3 different times because of COVID. And so that hurt us quite a bit.
Okay.
And so we were behind the ball a lot, and we also got shut down during the time that varsity did. And the last time, we had to actually cancel our last 2 games of the season. And so we worked hard last season, like everybody else did, as far as having to meet through Google Meets and doing the best that we could with the kids. We didn't get to have a spring with those kids, and so we had to install a completely new offense and a completely new defense. So it was difficult for the kids. We got through it the best that we could, and with us being able to go through spring with these kids that we have now and summer, it puts them so far ahead because us as coaches, we now have a year under our belt with the new system as well. So we understand it better, and we're able to relay that to the kids also. And so a lot of those kids now are fighting for positions on the varsity level, which I'm proud of, and they're working hard every single day. I just hated on the ninth grade level, they didn't get to see the amount of success that they possibly could have had. But every ninth grade struggled with that same issue. So I don't want to make any excuses, but everyone had the same issues. But I think our season could have gone a lot better if it wasn't for that,
Last year was a really weird year.
It was definitely an interesting year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
so
was.
Coach,
And,
with you being more of a
go ahead.
I was going to say, with you being more of a defensive-minded coach, is there a couple players that from last year that we need to be looking out for this coming on Friday night? And then we'll talk about ninth grade.
Defensively, Um, Nah, most of those guys that we're looking for, they're going to be more offensive players because our defense for this year, a lot of those guys, they were backups last year that will be starting this year on the varsity. And so
Okay.
we have no guys off of our defense last year that'll be started. Most of those guys that are fighting for starting positions on the offensive side because the defense, as you all know, our defense has been so stacked for the last couple of years. So we had some guys who were behind those guys who will actually be starting for the first time this year, who were pretty good, really good guys, and they're part of our ninth grade team that actually went undefeated when they were in ninth grade. And so those guys are seniors now, because they had some really good guys that were 3-year starters in front of them. And so, but next year they have a chance to fight for it.
Okay.
Yeah, Coach, one of those guys that you're
And
talking
my
about.
last question, I'm going to turn it back over to Larry.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Sorry. My last question, if Coach Dubose came to you tomorrow, said, Coach, I've got X position that I've got to fill. Which position would you feel strongest about on the ninth grade?
Ooh, man, that's a tough one. I like this team at every level. I think at any position, if he needed it, we would be able to help him out at pretty much any position that we have, and that's me speaking honestly. Me not just trying to say what I think is the right thing to say. And so we have some guys next football season that will be playing on Friday night. I can guarantee you that.
Great.
Dang, Chris, bringing the ESPN level questioning, man. That's good stuff, Coach. Listen, before we let you get out of here, there's a couple other questions I had for you. You're not a one-man show there on the ninth grade squad. You're bringing in some, I think, 2 or 3 different or newer members to your staff. I think you told me Zane Deal, Jamie New, and David Brinson. Tell us a little bit about those guys.
Yes, Zane Deal. He did his student teaching at Lowndes High School many years ago. He's been a varsity offensive coordinator, and so he's going to be the offensive coordinator for ninth grade. I had a chance to see him in action back before Dead Week when we had a 7-on-7 against Ware County, Brooks County, and Thomas County Central. His play calling was really good. Our kids executed them at a high level. We actually won that 7-on-7. It was a sub varsity one. Coach Jamie New, he has a varsity experience also at Berrien County and at Cook County. He's been at Pine Grove last year. He's helping out with the offensive line. He's doing a really good job as well. Coach David Brinson, he's been the varsity assistant boys basketball coach. And I've been knowing him for a long time. We actually went to college together. He's going to be our receivers coach. Coach Miles Sears, he was coaching with me last year. He coaches our linebackers. He'll be back. And actually, Coach Jermaine Clemens, he's helping out with the varsity and ninth grade defensive line. And him and I have been working together for a long period of time. And of course, I take care of the corners and the safeties. And so, me being the ninth grade coach, I've seen a lot of staff come and go. A lot of our guys were actually able to move up and coach varsity now, and I'm really happy for those guys. And so I still love our staff that we have now. We're gelling together really good, and we're learning the kids, and we're motivating them every single day to play Viking football. And we're just trying to get some more paint on the wall, bring some more region championships, and hopefully a state championship with this group.
Well, Coach, now that the 4th of July week is over with, you guys have hit the ground running. So it's basically a full out sprint until the end of the season with a state championship, hopefully. So, but you had a couple of weeks of downtime this summer. What do you like to do on a personal level when you're away from the game, just relaxing a little bit? What do you like to do in your free time?
Oh, man, I love to travel, man. As soon as school got out, we had a daughter that graduated this Saturday. Me and my wife got on the plane the next day and went to St. Martin for a week. And then back in our second day, we took the family to Cancun. And so
Wow.
I work really hard, but I also believe in I have to actually decompress and spend time with my wife and with my kids. And so I love to travel, get to see the world as much as possible, So that's pretty much all I do. I'm either working or I'm trying to travel somewhere, and I work out too. So I try to get my gym time in the morning time, but try to spend as much time with the family. I've been coaching for a long time, and I don't want to lose that relationship with my wife and kids. And we got two more left in the house. They'll be graduating this year and next year, and then we'll be empty nesters. And would love to get an RV and travel a little bit more.
I
So
hear you, man.
that's what I like doing whenever I'm not coaching anything.
I got you. Last question. All right. So one of the things that I really enjoy about doing what we do on Thursday nights and interviewing you coaches is, we find out a little bit more about your personal side, but I've been curious about something. It's been eating at me the entire interview. Okay. I gotta ask you this question, Coach. I don't want to put you on the spot like Chris did earlier with that ESPN question, but I gotta ask you this question. If you see me, I can't seem to grow a beard to save my life. I don't know why, but you got this nice, healthy, product probably induced beard, man. Are you going full Duck Dynasty on us, or?
No, the wife loves my beard, man. So that's why I grow it out. I did it one time just to see if I could actually do it, and she fell in love with it. And I referee basketball on the side, and we can't have a beard. And so her and my kids hate when I have to cut it off. And so I didn't have to cut it off this year, and she loves it. And so she helps me. It's a lot of maintenance, though. I tell you that much. And so I grow it out for her because whenever I talk about cutting it off, she gets upset. So I do that for Candace Robinson. That's what I do it for.
I got you. Well, listen,
Good
Coach,
answer, Coach.
Listen,
Yeah.
fantastic interview tonight. You've been a good sport. So listen, we appreciate you coming on the Viking Nation tonight, the Around the Nation show, and come back anytime, man. If you don't mind, we'll check in with you sometime during the season and just see how your ninth grade squad's doing.
Please do, and come out and check the guys out, man. I would love for people to come in and check these guys out and watch them play. We had a lot of people at our spring game. It was very competitive, and I think you're going to love the intensity that these kids are going to bring, and they're going to play a lot harder. Yes, that is right, Miss Suzanne. As long as people come out and check these kids out, man, that's what they look forward to. So all the kids look forward to running down that hill on Friday night, but it starts on Thursday for these kids when they first get to the high school. And so just try to come out and check them out, man. We're going to be full of intensity, full of fire, ready to represent the Lowndes Vikings the best way possible. And we love all of your support.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Coach, for joining us tonight. Have a good night.
Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
You guys be awesome now.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Man, what a great guy.
Oh man, he's cool.
Yeah, he did a really good job answering
And
those
has
questions.
his priorities right.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm really, really looking forward to this ninth grade squad because he really caught my attention when he said this is one of the best teams I've had. No, I'm sorry, one of the best teams I've seen, and we've seen some really good ones here at Lowndes. So can't wait. So as they say, the cupboard is not bare at Lowndes football.
Hey, and he's seen some stars.
He has some of the names that he
Some of
threw
the
out.
names he threw out are big time now.
Kenny Moore, Josh Harvey Clemens, Kenneth Durden, Tavon Kyle, Michael Barrett. Man,
Oh,
some
absolutely.
good stuff.
And the other thing I really like is how the Lowndes game plan has been pushed all the way down to the middle school.
That's
so
right.
there will not be any loss when these teams get moved up.
Did you hear him say that? I wrote it down just to make sure I heard him correctly, but he said he's got 65 ninth graders.
61 to 65. Yeah,
Yes.
That's the largest group that he's seen in his tenure. This is his third year going as a head coach at the ninth grade squad. Largest group yet, 65.
That's bigger than some 4A schools.
Imagine those 65 sticking it all the way through for the next 4 years and having a senior class with 65 members in it. I've heard other coaches say when when your seniors hit that senior year, if you've got 35 plus seniors, you're in really, really good shape. So, man, if we can hang on to those 60, 65 kids, we're going to be in great, great shape.
And Larry, it sounds like we don't just have bodies. You know, we're not just talking about 65
That's
kids
right.
that just show up. We're talking about 65 athletes. You know, kids that are competing for a spot. So
That's right.
So they're only going to make each other better.
That's right. And guys, I'm going to remind you, if you still want to enter your chance to win that Winn-Dixie Stuff the Bucket chicken wings and riblets bucket from their wing bar, all you got to do is enter in the comments, hashtag one Lowndes, all one word, just like you see on the screen, hashtag one Lowndes. So we'll do that drawing at the end of the show. Guys, I got a couple of questions I'm going to throw out at you. This is kind of a around the nation kind of questions. Chris, let me first start with you. When it comes to the band, you guys going to be starting band camp pretty soon, and all three of us are invested in the band. I've had kids go through 8 years of band. Billy, do you still have kids in the band, or are all yours done?
My youngest daughter will be a senior this year. She's a flute player.
Gotcha. Chris, you've obviously had kids go through the Bridgman program as well, and you're the
Yes.
the president of the band booster club. So band camp is coming up pretty soon, and I saw on the Bridgman Facebook page the other day that you guys are looking for volunteers. Is that still the case?
Yes, that is correct. Yes. So to kind of put in perspective, so rookie camp starts next Thursday, and you're going to have 120, and that's not necessarily all rising ninth graders. Obviously, there's been students that have moved into the area, but they're new to the Georgia Bridgman.
Okay.
So we'll have approximately 120 new students next Thursday practicing. Just in that day, we will need nurses. We will need those helping with water. You got to figure a water break is occurring every 45 minutes or so. Lunch, serving, all of those things. So there's a lot of moving parts that go into it. And that's just rookie camp. Now, the following Monday, when pre-camp starts and we have all 375 plus Bridgman out there, we'll have a small army of volunteers. We'll probably be pushing 40 to 50 volunteers each day. And as we move into camp week where we're serving dinners, that number will quickly jump up to 60 to 75. So yes, we appreciate any and every volunteer that we have, whether it be large or small, and as far as what they can contribute.
I gotcha. Now, you guys have an update to the mask policy coming into this year, right? So what is that?
So Mr. Bowman put out today that masks will not be required unless you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, but it will not be required for camp. We will have multiple sanitizing areas, stations. Still, food will be individually wrapped when possible. So there's still other precautions in place. But as far as the mask, it is student preference on that.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
you
John had brought up a point. He said, these precautions that the hand sanitizer, the spreading out, used to all the kids would take their break and they'd all run up there and get their water at one time. But he's actually implementing where they're going to keep staggering when they take their water breaks. So you don't have all 400 kids up there trying to get water at one time.
Right.
So this not only deals with the COVID issue. He brought up a good point today when he released that it actually help our kids from getting stuff as common as the cold. The everyday things that kids get sick from. It'll help. So it's not just a COVID precaution. It's going to help us with flu, colds, everything. So it is neat that John is taking the initiative to continue some of these steps to keep our kids safe.
That's a great point. Great point. Now, speaking of steps,
I was going to say, with last year, there were some things that we learned from last year's camp. We made everything up as we went, but there were some things that we learned that we said, you know what, these are things we need to continue going forward. I think they're very positive for the program.
Now, I've been asked this, and it's a really good question that I'm about to ask you. What can we expect to see on Friday nights this fall? Are we going to have all the Bridgmen in that one Bridgman section, or are they going to be spread out across the stadium like they were last year, or how are you guys going to do that?
We're going to be back where the Bridgmen belong, in the end zone,
Okay.
and we're going to be bringing the noise.
Gotcha. Okay. Fantastic. All right. So that's our Bridgman update for the week. Before we get out of here for tonight's show, I got a question for you. I kind of like to, if you haven't figured it out by now, I kind of like springing these questions on you guys just to gauge your reaction. So I don't know if you keep up with the GHSA and reclassification, but this upcoming season is the last of a 2-year cycle of reclassification. So that means starting next season, the 2022 season, we're going to be reclassified again. So that means that the GHSA starting this year, this fall, is going to start the reclassification process. So as a teaser question as for hyping the show tonight, I threw out a question out there. And the question is, will Region 1 7A add 1 or 2 new teams for the 2022 season? What is that noise? I don't know what that. You guys hear that?
My dogs just came in from the pool. Sorry.
I got
and my 100-pound lab has decided to rearrange the furniture as these come in. Sorry about that.
No problem, man. No problem.
So, Larry, on reclassification, I assume if we're talking about 1 to 2, are we talking about Lee County and Valdosta? Is that your assumption?
No, let me show you who I'm talking about. I'm going to share something with you on the screen. Check this out. Oops, that's the wrong one. Let's see. This one right here. Okay, so, man, this, for whatever reason, is not working like I'd hoped. The 2 teams that I'm talking about are Richmond Hill. So let's talk about Richmond Hill first, okay? Do you guys know where Richmond Hill is?
I do.
Savannah.
It's way over there, right? So I'm going to actually bring this map up on the screen. So you guys can see that map, right? So check that out. So that red dot over there is Richmond Hill, just south of Savannah. They have 2,350 something students, I believe. And, you know, actually a little bit more than that. Technically, they already have 7A numbers. That's what they've reported for this year, this upcoming season. So next year, just by, you know, natural growth, they may add 50 to 75, because let's face it, a lot of people in the Savannah area will either send their kids to a private school like Benedictine, Savannah Country Day, or they move out of Chatham County into the Richmond Hill School District because it's close enough to still drive to work. And plus they feel better about the Richmond Hill school system, right? And so a lot of these kids that would have normally been playing in Savannah are now playing for Richmond Hill. That's why that school system keeps growing. But if you notice, I plotted out the 2 farthest schools that if Richmond Hill were to join Region 1 7A, and I single out Region 1 7A because south of Atlanta, Region 1 is the only region that, part of 7A, right? So naturally, any school south of Atlanta would get basically added to our region. So right now, as it stands, Richmond Hill has the numbers. So moving into next year, into the reclassification cycle, it's a safe assumption to assume that they're going to have 7A numbers. And if that's the case, are they going to be added to Region 1 7A? So that's the question. So then I went to Google Maps and I plotted out the 2 farthest schools in the region for next year, which would be Richmond Hill and Colquitt County. Guys, it's 3.5 hours one way. So here's my prediction. Even though Richmond Hill may have the 7A numbers, I think they're going to remain in 6A due to a clause in the GHSA bylaws that allows a school that what they call isolated, right, to basically go to another classification. In this particular situation, the nearest class would be 6A. So I think Richmond Hill stays in 6A unless the GHSA has a change of heart, or the superintendent over there makes the GHSA mad and they want to get back at them and assign them to our region. What do you guys think?
I think we need more teams in this
well, I
region.
hope they stay in. Listen, I just want to put in one thing. If they come into it, please do not let Camden and Richmond Hill both be away games in the same year. Number one. Number two.
Yeah, and have you ran the distance on Camden?
Between. Oh, well, I'm trying to. Oh, yeah. You can't get there from here. But nonetheless, and that's the easier ride. But if we put it in perspective with these school buses, when I go to plan trips such as this, and you kind of caught me off guard with Richmond Hill, what is that, 225 miles, 200 miles roughly, Larry?
Yeah, from Valdosta, it's about 3 hours.
So you figure if I'm planning my course, I'm basing that off of 55 miles an hour with those school buses.
Yeah.
Figuring in a rest stop. You're 4 hours to get there.
Yeah, that's true. Now, what may happen, this is a possibility, that the GHSA might say, okay, for football, we assign you to Region 17A, and for all other sports, because for all other sports, they have a lot more games than just 3 or 4 region games. Because just keep this in mind. If they get assigned to our region, they would have 4 region games, right? And so you could assume that 2 of them will probably be at home and 2 of them would be away. So yes, they're way on out there, but the travel burden is basically 2 weeks, 2 games, right? And the same thing with our schools and our situation. I'm sure all the region heads would get together and say, kind of like what you just did. It's fine to have these teams in our region. Let's just make sure that Camden and Richmond Hill are kind of off years for everyone, right? So that would be the logical. Now, so for all other sports, I can see them assigning them to Class 6A. I mean, that's a possibility as well, because they've done it before with these isolation teams. So now Billy had a different take. Billy says that he would love to see more teams assigned to our region.
Yeah, not necessarily want to go to Richmond Hill because, I hate going to Camden as it is. And for Colquitt County, Camden is nearly as far as Richmond Hill would be from already. I mean, it might be 30 miles difference, but grand scheme of things, it's still the same. But I think our region needs more teams. I mean, come on. Play 3 games in your region and it's over. That's no fun. So I'm not crazy about going to Richmond Hill, I wouldn't mind if, it was a team like Warner Robins or something that was, a little closer. But at the same time, Chris has to think of this from a logistical standpoint, getting the kids there. Because it's 45 minutes to an hour every time you stop, Chris, to get those kids a bathroom break. I mean, I've seen them unload at a rest area. That's like herding cats. So,
sure.
So it is a burden, but I would like to see a team, eventually added. 2 would be great, but 1's definitely, I think, needed from a competition standpoint. Everybody knows that a team can have a bad day. And if you have a bad day against a good team, you could lose. And right now, it seems to be that the only teams that are winning this region are undefeated teams. Which that still could be the case. But if you have a bad day and you lose to a good Moultrie team, and you're as good a team, if not better, you'd like a few more games for somebody else to have a bad game. So I just, from a competition standpoint, I just want to see more games that count.
Oh, I agree with that. Now, I wonder, I'm going to throw jab at Lee County. If they properly counted their numbers from the region, it's really the region of Lee County versus Lee County that they put a team together from. We make it through.
Are you mentioning the Westover, Albany High area in that region too?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, we even go to Grady County. We go to Mitchell. I mean,
I see what you did there, Chris. You're right. If they count their numbers correctly,
Yeah.
And there is a clause that if you get so many of your students outside of your region, you do have to play up. That is a GSHA rule. So if they count the numbers correctly, Lee County could be in that. And imagine how far Lee County is from if you added a Richmond Hill.
Yeah, so let's talk about that rule for a second, Billy, because you're mostly correct. Now, what you're referring to, if you see on the screen right here, part of the screen is chopped off, but we'll just go with it here and just make sure. There we go. All right, so you see on the screen. This is from the new GHSA Constitution and bylaws. So they're required to put all these numbers in here. And what you're seeing on the screen is the student populations. Okay. The number on the left is the actual count. The number in parentheses is what Billy's referring to is the new number with the multiplier added into it. And this multiplier is 2.0, which means that for every student that you have out of district that goes to your school, they don't count as one student, they count as two students. Right? So now here's where Billy kind of gets lost in the weeds. There is a clause in the GHSA bylaws that says this. Yes, the multiplier may move you up in a different classification. It may move you up into multiple classifications. But no team can be forced to go to 7A based on the multiplier.
I did not know that clause.
Yeah. So if Valdosta, that's the next team that I want to talk about. So let me scroll down the screen a little bit. You see Valdosta's numbers here on the right-hand side of the screen where it says 6A. I don't know can you guys see that?
Larry, I don't have my glasses on. There ain't no way I could see that.
All right, let me magnify it for you. You don't have your glasses on. Okay, so if you see these numbers now, here's Valdosta in the lower right-hand corner of that window. Okay, their actual count, and that's the second team that possibly could join Region 1 7A. Their actual count, guys, is 2,111 students. But with their multiplier, and guys, we want to make sure we make this distinction. When we're talking about out-of-district kids, we're not just talking about football players. We're talking about all students. Could be students that don't even play sports, but they're out-of-district coming into their school system, okay? So when you add that multiplier, now that takes them up to 2,285 students. Do you know how many kids Tift County has in their school system? You see them in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. They're the smallest team in our region as far as student population goes. Let me read this number out to you. With their multiplier, they have 2,334 kids. If Valdosta picks up 50 students between this year and next year, you know how many kids they would have? They would have 2,335 kids. But because of the way the GHSA bylaws is written, they cannot be forced to move up to Class 7A based on a multiplier. So their true student number of 2,111 kids, if they get 125, 130 kids between now and next season, naturally they could be forced to move up to 1-7. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. So next season, when we're going in this time next season, we could be talking about a region that is exactly the same, or a region that has one or possibly two additional teams. What do you think about that? To go from a region of 4 teams to 6 teams, and now playing, instead of 3 region games, you would be playing 5 region games. That would be an interesting region.
I'm all
wouldn't
for
it?
more region games. I'm not crazy about the travel to Richmond Hill though. If that's the team.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we'll just have to wait and see what happens with Richmond Hill and Valdosta, but those are very distinct possibilities. Oh, and by the way, Richmond Hill is probably credited with costing Alan Rodemaker his job, because that was the team that he lost to in the playoffs, his last game at Valdosta High School. Well, we won't get into the other issues.
Well, Larry, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You may or may not know the answer to this. With the way high schools are growing, at the rate they're growing, do you see or do you know if GSHA is going to increase the minimum number to be a 7A school, a 6A school, 5A, et cetera?
Okay, so the GHSA does not base Class 7A on student population per se. There's not a fixed number, is what I meant to say. What they do
is a percentage of the total.
That's exactly right. So what they do is they take the top class and the bottom class, 7A and 1A. And so they assign a percentage. They want, let's say, 10% of the schools all over the state if they have the highest student populations, we want to take these largest 10% of schools and shove them up into 7A. So if schools continue to grow, then schools like Valdosta and Richmond Hill may be pushed out of that because they may not be part of that 10%. We just don't know. That's why I say there's a lot of moving parts. Now, on the flip side of that, they basically do the same thing for 1A. I can't remember if the number is 10 or 15%. So they take these two extremes, and then every other team, every other class, they divide equally among the remaining classes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so that's how that's going to work out, guys. And this time next year, we'll see how it shakes out. But that's what's going on. 193 miles away from Colquitt County high school to Richmond Hill High School. Now that means that we're a little bit closer. Now, consequently, I think it's about 3 hours from Colquitt to Camden, right? So they're already making that. So when it comes to
that was my point earlier that Moultrie is about that same distance already. So it's not that big a deal for them.
Yeah. So if we're talking about one team and basically one additional travel game a year, and maybe it's like Billy was suggesting, we make sure that we keep Camden and Richmond Hill on off years. So, that's really not that big of a deal if we're talking about just one sport. Now, if they classify Richmond Hill in all sports in the Region 1-7, that might be a bigger deal because of baseball and basketball, where they have to play multiple teams.
And they play on a Tuesday night.
That's right. That's right. So that might be a problem. But again, guys, if you're watching this tonight, I don't want to be hearing rumors that say that LG from the Viking Nation says that Valdosta and Richmond Hill is going to be joining Region 1-7. That's not what we're saying. We're speculating based on their student population and what may happen next year. But it's, this is fan talk. This is kind of fun to speculate about this kind of stuff. So, last question I have for you guys. Okay. Earlier this week, a major event happened in the world of college athletics. You guys remember what that was?
I do.
Yeah,
and what was that?
Yeah, basically they've made it where pretty much anything that has to do with school you can fund with private money, basically. So it's basically making it where I could give money to a player for an apartment or whatever reason I want to. As long as I say it has to do with education.
That's right. Yeah, and so we're talking about the NIL, name, image, and likeness, where college students, athletes, whether it's football or swimming or whatever, they're eligible now to make money, make income off of their name, image, or likeness. And we're starting to see the ramifications of that. I think we're going to see some unintended consequences, but I don't want to get into a college discussion. My question to you guys is, how long before that starts to bleed down to the high school level? And the reason why you're thinking about it, what got me thinking about this question is the GHSA this week had to make an extraordinary statement, a release, if you will, an information release, reminding high schools and high school athletes that the NIL for college does not apply at the high school level. So they were basically warning student athletes at the high school level, do not risk your eligibility by thinking that you can sign one of these deals, because you risk your amateur status at the high school level if you do that. So no NIL for the high school students. That's only for college athletes. But how long do you think it's before it reaches the high school level, or at least student athletes start to demand that kind of treatment at the high school level?
I really think that private schools are going to – it's not going to be available in public schools, I don't think. I think it would hit the private schools, the big schools, the IMGs, schools like that the students are going there just to be athletes, basically. They're there. I think you'll see it legal for them for the sole reason you don't have a governing body like the GHSA that covers some of those schools. I know, our private schools do fall under some GHSA, but they don't have to. They can do their own thing. And I think, 15, 20 years, you could possibly see, some of these stars in high school, maybe get some kind of deal where they, if they're numbered, names put on a jersey, they can receive a little kickback from it.
That's right.
But
Chris, you got any thoughts on that?
I don't think it'll happen in public schools anytime soon.
Of course, the genie's out of the bottle now. But that was one of the things about college sports, is the purity of it and playing in, quote unquote, the right reasons. Now, granted, if a student athlete who signed a D1 scholarship completes all 4 years, by the time you add it all up, it's worth $350,000. If they really stand out, it's worth millions once they go to the NFL. But you hate to lose that purity. I mean, at what point do you say, you know what, this is absurd? And you look at the University of Miami, where you've got one Buescher who has said, hey, a commitment of $540,000 over the course of 5 years. Every player gets $500 a year. It's unfortunate they couldn't have worked out, something else with the NCAA before.
A month, isn't it?
$500 a month.
It's
$500 a month. It's $500 a month. It's $6,000 a year, roughly.
Yeah. So, but at the end of it, you go, gosh, why couldn't the NCAA have come up with some other way to compensate these players so that they would have some spending money? Let's use that term. Short of, now I'm sponsored by, dropping whatever brand you want.
I think there's going to be some unintended consequences of this NIL action. Can you imagine after a game, players coming off the field, reporter grabs them, talks about, hey, what a great game we had. And they'll be, that player is now going to be kind of like a golfer, where he says, hey, let me, before I answer your question, let me thank my sponsors of Tropicana Orange Juice down in Florida and, Dojo Karates United, that kind of stuff. Can you imagine? That's coming. We kind of chuckle, but that kind of stuff is coming.
I was Ricky Bobby. What do I do with my hands? And, I need to find, whatever Pine Straw Company too.
Wow, shots fired.
That's a great note to end tonight's show on.
Shots fired.
Right there. Oh, my gosh. Chris, you may not be asked to come back.
Wow. What was the name of it? What was the name of it?
Pine Straw Company.
Yeah, what's the name of the Pine Straw Company?
That's funny. And for our audience that's watching, I'm going to share that story with you guys one of these Thursday nights. Hey, listen, we got to get out of here. We're right at an hour. So before we leave tonight's broadcast, you guys got one last chance. If you want to enter, type in hashtag #OneLowndes, all one word, just like you see on the screen, into the comments to enter this Winn-Dixie drawing at the end of the show, this Stuff the Bucket chicken wings and riblets. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. All right. So, Jennifer Green, good one. All right. So while we're waiting for more people to enter, one last chance, Larry Wayne Harrell had this interesting question. Will there still be students who elect to take virtual classes? And if so, how will they be counted? Larry Wayne Harrell, I don't know about the policies for every school system in the state, but there will be students, I'm sure, taking online classes this coming fall for whatever reason, because of COVID, because of illness, whatever reason. They're still going to be counted just like they are now in the official student count. They're not going to be taken out of the student count. So if you have, for reclassification, I'm assuming your question is related to reclassification for next year. So if you have students that have designated next year to be taking virtual classes, they're still going to be counted because they're still part of that school system. So thanks for your question. All right. So we had a few more people enter that. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and do this drawing. What do you think? All right, so here we go. All right, let's see. Big money, big money. Who's going to win the Winn-Dixie Stuff the Bucket drawing this week? All right, we just saw Billy Pearson go past. Shannon Taylor.
Shannon.
All right, congratulations, Miss Shannon. Hey, Shannon, what's that now?
She's a band mom and in charge of our band store too. Congratulations.
Fantastic. Congratulations, Shannon. Shannon, if you're still watching, after this show ends, I will send you a message on Facebook Messenger giving you instructions on how you can go up to Winn-Dixie and claim your prize. The feedback that we've got is a pretty simple process, and we agree. So we hope that you enjoy the Stuff the Bucket meal this week. So, guys, thanks for joining us this week. Great show tonight. We want to thank Coach Joseph Robinson, head coach for the 9th grade team there at Lowndes Football. We want to thank Billy Pearson, Chris Buescher, and I'm Larry Godwin on behalf of the Viking Nation. Guys, we will see you all next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you. Go Vikings.